Hey guys, we have got some gear today, revisiting this alpha handle with a Thader finest badger knot, 2-band. Used it once before, so we're going to put another use on it. It's likely that the tips need a few uses to kind of break in and get really soft, so that's kind of what I'm expecting over the next few uses of it. Trying a new base plate on the Tatara razor. It's the Nadachi handle, but everything else is Masamune. Masamune top cap and the Masamune open comb. Inside it, we're going to put a blade that does really well for me in most razors. So we'll see how it does with this one. And APR made the scent, and Southern Witchcrafts made the soap base for Grapefruit. I've used it several times on my channel. It's a terrific grapefruit type scent with some other cool fruitiness and woodiness thrown in as well. And I've had my brush soaking for just a few minutes. So now let's load up the razor and give it a few more minutes to soak. I like to give my 2-band badgers more of a soak if I can. 3 bands don't really absorb as much water because the tips haven't been treated like the 2 bands, and so I don't mind if I don't soak those. Just used this one time before. And as we've talked about, you can tell this is a Masamune top cap because that unthreaded part is a lot larger than with the Nadachi. That's 6 or 7 millimeters of unthreaded bolt, and it's a lot less with the Nadachi. Really nice blade alignment with this head design. The base plate does have a little bit of wiggle until the handle goes up inside and centers the base plate. There we go. I don't consider the Masamune Solid Bar to be a mild razor. I think some people do, and that's fine. To me, it's not quite as solid as some of the other ones that grip the blade really well. And it's got a little bit of a tenuous nature to it, but it's not smooth like the Timeless 68 or the Fatipes. Or some of the carves like the B or the A or even maybe the C. It's definitely something for somebody who likes a little bit of the blade chatter, a medium amount of the blade chatter. Let's call it that. It's not super chatty, but a little bit. Okay, so the blade's in there. It's the second use of that blade. We'll try the open comb and see what happens. Let's just take a quick look at the nature of the open comb. Now, this actually may be a whole different shave, and here's why. The open comb has blade support a lot farther closer to the blade edge from the bottom. Both, of course, plates have the top cap coming close to the edge, but the base plate for the solid bar has the drain area here to let the soap and the stubble have somewhere to go. The open comb doesn't really need that because it's got the little comb slots, and so it is able to support the blade closer to the edge. I am very interested about this because this may have a whole different feel. I want to disassemble it now that I have noticed this about it. Yeah, see, there we go. So the blade, all this bevel here on both sides, the blade is going to be clamping down on that. The blade does not rest on this part because it's a bow, but it does clamp down right here. This could be a whole different shave because of that one feature. Interesting. Did not see that one coming. A little bit of a surprise there. So reassemble. This may be quieter for one. Just checking to make sure I got it screwed in nice and tight. Seems like maybe the Nadachi handle doesn't want to go quite up all the way. Even though Tatara says that all the parts are interchangeable. Okay, so very cool. Now we can load the soap onto the brush. We call that loading. Later on we'll be building. And building is when you are no longer messing with the soap, but you are working with the soap that's already on the brush and the water that you've added to actually take those two things, work them together, add more water if needed until it grows to be a lather. Let me get my face wet. The water at this location is fairly soft. And I'm going to shake most of it out of this brush. And it also is a temperature of cool, not cold, not lukewarm, but just cool. All right, 2-band badger. Let's do a 40-second load, and we'll start it at the 30 mark. A 40-second load just because I'm not quite used to this brush yet, and I'd rather overload a little bit. Okay, that was 20 seconds, and as you can see, we don't have a whole lot going on, and so I am going to jump in and help it. All right, so we have 20 more seconds to go. There we go, the 10 mark right there. Some of that water did spill out, but that's okay. So we'll now go to the 30 mark, and that will be 40 seconds of loading. Sometimes everything appreciates just a little bit more water. And there we go. It didn't really increase a lot more, but I think we probably got enough soap on there. Rinse off the sides of the tub. May have to go back to it, who knows. All right. 3D lather bowl here, 3D printed on the computer and stuff. If you have a 3D printer, you can print your own, and the description of the video will have a link to the files that you'll need. On my website, sugardaddyshaves.com, I have a 3D printing page that lists 3 different online services that my viewers have reported as being folks they're happy to work with. They gave them good prices. And if you don't have your own printer, then you could make use of one of those services. Two teaspoons is now in the bowl, involved in the lather. A half teaspoon I did add to the soap, and I'll bet a quarter of that kind of spilled out. So I may kind of subtract that quarter from what oh man, the nice grapefruit scent with the, I think maybe yuzu or some other kind of citrus is there as well. Coming up. Add another teaspoon. I don't like to press really hard at this stage. I definitely don't splay. Some people pump their brush, and admittedly that can sometimes really do some good water and soap combining, but to me it's not worth the trouble on the brush end of things, because you can develop a bend in your bristles where the center starts to become kind of empty, all because of that plunging. And I think I can do just as good by pushing down a little bit, and I'm barely splaying the bristles when I push down like this. And then just get at it for a little bit. You can switch directions. You can go back. If you have something in the middle, like I do, I have a bump right there in the middle. You can switch directions up and down, left, right, in addition to the circles. I believe it was Alan, I think, who was discovering with a new Umo brush that he got in, and I think he was telling me in the comments how he was maybe pressing too hard in this part of the lather building process. He was pressing down too hard and it just wasn't coming together, and he found more success in backing off on the pressure. Sometimes I will push down to where the brush splays about 50%, maybe 60%, just to make sure that the water inside the brush has a chance to combine with the soap. But then the rest of the time I am doing maybe just 20 to 40% splay. I don't like to push down really hard with my brushes. This lather's looking very nice. It's on its way. It's a great soap base. It is vegan, but it's a great base. Comparing if you bring in tallow or vegan or any other kind of soap. Again, we can push it down from the walls. Got to combine and mix that water in with it. I did that 40-second load, and obviously that was plenty, more than enough. That is for sure. Another half teaspoon. So it looks like we're looking at 3 teaspoons of water in the lather. And if you load lots of soap, you might have to add lots of water, because otherwise you might end up with kind of a dry lather. Three and a half. Really liking this Bully Boy handle. It's like the 400 from Rubber Set, a vintage handle, but it's thicker. It's aluminum. It's kind of heavy. Kind of a special order they did at one of the other forums, maybe Badger and Blade. I'm not really sure which one. They may do another batch, you know, limited run to just to see what how people like it. And I'm gonna put another half in, 4.5 teaspoons. Now let's feel of it here. Oh man, that is creamy and slick. That is terrific. That's great. I don't think I'd mind having this balm either. Or the splash, you know. I think it'd be very wearable. Very nice. Now, That was so creamy, I'm going to go ahead and put a whole nother teaspoon, and then that might be it. So we're looking at 5.5 teaspoons so far. And I'm glad I have a big bowl, otherwise this would be flowing right out. Of course, I'm not going to use all of it, so if it did kind of spill out, it wouldn't really be a waste. It's kind of going to be poured out at the end anyway. All right, let's take a look at it in terms of the, yeah, there we go. See how it can't hold its own weight? Let's go with that. And get my face wet. And now my second use of this cool brush. And yeah, the tips are already softening up more than the first time I used it. It's cool. Man, I have a ton of lather. This lather is so nice and the brush is so complete that I'm done in the sense of applying the lather to my face. However, as I rinsed off the handle to make it easier to hold. However, we want the lather to kind of be on our face for a little while. And that is also something that can be subjective for you. I have read in an older shaving publication back when safety razors were just coming out 100 years ago. Their argument was that you should not really get your hair wet, not really let the lather sit on it for a long time, but mix up the lather and then apply it and shave right away. So that's something that you may want to try, see what you like best. I think their contention was that if you don't want the hair to be limp, because if it's limp, it's harder to cut. If it's laying over on its side, it might be harder to cut. And that idea has some merit, right? Maybe I might try it someday. Well, we're talking about me here. Of course I'm going to try it someday. Just don't know when. All right. Very curious how this is going to go. That is very interesting. See, this is quieter. It's smoother. Man, I am so glad I decided to try this out. This is a whole different razor. And this is not aggressive. This is kind of in the medium range in terms of blade feel. Where it is in the cutting closely spectrum, of course, is something we won't know until the end of the shave. But in terms of blade feel, I really enjoy it. Wow. See, that's what you do when, that's what you get when you try something. I thought I knew how it was going to be. I almost didn't even try it. But it turns out, because that slot is gone, they were able to put blade support in its place. And that transforms the feel of the razor. This is a case where the solid bar feels rougher than the open comb. Often most other makers, when they make a solid bar and an open comb, the structure and the amount of support under the blade is pretty much the same either way. This one is very different. And so most of the time the open comb is considered more aggressive. Not so with this one, at least so far. Face feels great. I don't feel any irritation or anything like that. Let's finish this little area right there. Oh man, love that smell. Grapefruit, what a great, zesty, but kind of fruity, fresh, uplifting, nice scent. Nice type of note to put in a shaving soap. And let's get the brush ready to go again. I'm happy the way this brush is going already. Just a second use, the tips are changing softer. I like the easy splay. There we go. Cross grain now. And that is just smooth. Very comfortable. Very nice. Man, that's what I'm talking about, folks. Solid feel. That's the way I like it. A little half rinse there. And we will gather up more lather. And I've got another 3 or 4 passes of lather in the bowl. And look at that amazing. Note the texture. We don't have a lot of peaks, a lot of sudden ridges, not very many crags or anything like that. It definitely does not really look like a moonscape. It looks more like something in a pastry kitchen, some type of cream filling or something like that. And you don't have to do the scrubbing motion after the first pass, but I like to do it to feel the brush. So 5½ teaspoons of water, 40 seconds of loading, and that includes adding a little bit of water. During the loading process, because it didn't look like it was picking as much up, but you know, I could be wrong. Probably am wrong about that. At this point, I am just kind of doing touch-ups. I'm not really hearing a lot of cutting, not really feeling it, but I'm optimizing my angle. I'm trying to make sure that my angle is good. Pardon my stomach rumbling. Oh, that's good. That's good. A lot of times at this stage, it will feel like the blade is kind of picking up some hairs, picking up some stubble that maybe it didn't cut really close before. And it's lifting them and maybe causing a little bit of irritation with maybe pulling the hairs against the grain, that sort of thing. But this cutting through them smoothly. That's a great sign, at least for me. And then I switch back to this type of stroke because the direction of the hair changes. Very nice. And if I want to do a touch-up, I've got tons of lather in the bowl. I can just hit that area one more time. Probably don't need to. Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to try to overshave. I'm going to switch back instead of a cross grain in the slightly against the grain direction. I'll go back to the cross grain and even a little bit of with the grain, just to be kind to my neck and not stir up any irritation. But maybe I was able to pick up, knock out some of the little stragglers. Man, wow, the open comb Masamune breaking the mold. The exception of the solid bar versus the open comb of the same model. All right, face feels great, no irritation. Every once in a while I'll run into a razor that is edgy and it's scraping me a little bit and it can maybe cutting a little bit too close to the skin, but it does it very gradually and I won't notice it until I get to the third pass or so, because it's an irritation and a tenderness that builds up during the shave, and it's like a frog in a blender, going really slowly. I don't notice till the end of the shave, and it's kind of tender. So let's do the splash now with water, and sometimes the cool water will alert me as to some touchy spots, some tender areas. And then of course I could have an alcohol splash, but I don't have it with me. I have Executive Man Balm, because I think this has some notes that might be common to the Grapefruit. It's definitely, I think it's got some fruity notes. It may even have a little bit of grapefruit in there, but it's got some notes similar to that, and so I thought it would be a good match, so we'll see about that. Little aside about my car wreck a few days ago. I had a big welt on my hand right here, and you can still see that's not my knuckle right here. But when I close my hand, I'm starting to see the swelling just continues to reduce gradually. I can actually see my knuckle there where I couldn't before. So it's a really good sign. It continues to recede. Happy about that. Almost certainly the airbag exploding, maybe even a flap of the protective cover of the airbag, the actual steering wheel stuff, slapping me in the hand as the airbag exploded. Man, Grapefruit, man, that's tremendous. While I've got a little bit of moisture still on my face, I'm going to go ahead and put on the Executive Man. Oh, I've got some water in my beard. Got to be real careful when I use the back of my hand. Sometimes I get into a spot, like reaching into a pocket and into a tight spot, and my swelling reminds me, hey, bud, you might want to reconsider that. This particular container, even though when I opened it, I turned it upside down, still must have had a little bit of balm up here, and so 2 or 3 times as much as I really wanted to come out, came out. So you know what I did? Rubbed it all over my forehead, my ears, back of my neck, down in the non-shavable area down here, because it's basically lotion. It's lotion that's specifically geared for your face, but it's basically lotion. So why not have those moisturizing effects elsewhere too, if you want. And then after a long time, instead of old wrinkly skin, maybe because of all these balms we're using, maybe us men will have better skin as a result of it. I know that darker skinned folks often have very nice skin, and I was reading something and it said that one of the reasons is because they have had to have a skin moisturizing regimen for most of their lives, because their skin it maybe has a tendency to be more dry, and so that's just been a part of their lives, whereas us light skinned folks, some guys go their whole life without putting a lotion on their face, except for maybe suntan lotion, and some guys don't even do that. And so maybe maybe that's got some merit to it. And so maybe we, us light-skinned guys, should be moisturizing a little bit more than we have been. Let's be like our dark-skinned brothers and sisters and take better care of our skin if we want to, right? 5½ teaspoons of water was used. Like I said earlier, didn't add any more than that. And 40 seconds of loading. So in summary, what jumped into my head to say was, now that's a terrific razor. I guess I should say, now this formation of the razor, this configuration is one that really matches what I like to have in a razor. If you are similar to me, then you're not going to enjoy as much the solid bar. However, if you like a little bit of a scrapey feel, a little bit of some blade chatter there, then this one, the open comb, is not going to be a great match for you. However, if you like then the solid bar might be better. So that's it's not a matter of good or bad, because the fit and finish of this razor is terrific. It's a matte. It looks a lot better in person than it does in the pictures. It looks kind of plasticky in the pictures to me. But it looks great. It's got a nice heft to it, especially with this Nadachi handle. I look forward to the Masamune handle at some point when I'm able to try that out. But wow, yeah, big difference. Big difference. So, big win in the razor department for me with the open comb Masamune head. The balm went nicely with the soap. Soap was wonderful as always. The soap base, terrific, slick, no drag or anything like that with this shave. The brush, softer tips than last time, so those are obviously maturing because this is only the second use of the brush. So really cool shave. And let's check out the closeness. And that's really nice. Really good, especially in my neck area here. Pretty much just see the tips, and that is a high mark for me because, as you can see, or as you may know if you're a regular viewer, I don't do against the grain. And sometimes that's an easy way to get a great shave, even with inferior technique or inferior setup or tools, things like that. But for me, I can't do it. It irritates my neck, gives me cuts, things like that. And so when I'm able to get this close of a shave with the grain and cross grain type strokes, then I'm really happy about that. Very, very nice. No tender skin, no anything like that. Definitely no cuts or weepers or anything. So very cool. All right, great shave. And this is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and we're at the end. And I sure hope there's been something in this video that is going to help you out. You take care and have a good night.